Hello friends, I know it's been a while. I apologize, life has just been a bit crazy, but I'll probably do maybe some kind of, update with me video soon. Hopefully I get around to that. But I did just want to sort of do a little video, just a little one on some interesting ways that I use the tarot in my practice, particularly when I'm working with clients. So the first thing is, this is my working deck, but I'm gonna do the examples with this deck just for the fun of it. It's a pretty deck. So basically, I always have this stone resting on top of my deck, just making sure it's keeping the energy in there nice and clear, not picking up on my energy. But also the other weird thing that I do is I always make sure that there's a card that I feel good about right at the bottom of the deck. So before I put it away, I'm not going to leave it on. I'm probably not going to find a negative card now, but I'm not going to leave it on the moon. The reason for this is because I'm using this bottom card to set the tone of the next reading that I'm giving, to basically put in place the energy that I wish to harness on my side of things when it comes to giving a reading. So I wouldn't choose a card like the moon card, which leaves you in the dark, unknowing. I would want something to inspire me, or something that's a bit more, I don't know, negative. You don't have to think the moon's a negative. Everyone has their own dialogue with the tarot, but basically I will, like, the Wheel of Fortune upright for me is a good card, so that works, right? And that's just a little thing that I do. We all have our own little thing, so this is basically what this video is about. It's not that this is the right way to do things, but I know I do things a bit differently and it works for me, and you might want to try it and it might work for you. So I have the stone on, I have a good energy card at the base, so when a new client, I come to doing a reading with a new client, I pick it up and I've got a nice clear deck, right, with good energy. The other thing I always do when I start the reading is, once I know the client's question, I will knock on the deck 3 times, and this for me puts their energy and the energy of their question into the deck, or the energy of the person that I'm asking about, or the connection I'm asking about, whatever it is, it puts it in. So even if I'm in the same reading with a client and they say want to switch from talking about one person to asking about a completely different person, again, I will knock 3 times on the deck, because one, I'm clearing out the other energy and I'm knocking in the new energy. And the same as if they were to change subjects, say they want to start asking about their career. So another thing I do is I used to shuffle. I've been reading for a long time, so I used to shuffle the classic way, kind of, just like you do with playing cards, just mixing them up. But since, see there, I get a flip, but it takes a bit longer. So now what I do is, I don't need to shuffle the whole deck. Do you know why? Because the way that I shuffle now, which basically means I technically don't shuffle, is I give every single card, an opportunity to come out. So I pull 1 card at a time and I just wait for one to jump out. So every card gets an opportunity to come out. There's my first card. If you've seen my working spreads video, which I'll put up in the iCard, you'll see that I'm doing my classic element spread that I do for every single reading pretty much. So starting again, giving every single card. Now it knows that I want the fire cards, the wands card, right? And see how that card flipped over by itself? So that's a reversal. But I will tell you, I like to work with all upright cards in the deck. But if it flips itself over, then that to me is a true reversal. Okay? I feel like this is my opinion, and in the way I work, it works for me. So like I used to mix them all up, but just something, I always felt this feelings, I'd often, not always, have this feeling of, I don't know if this card, like it's come out reversed because it was reversed in the deck, but I don't feel like it should be reversed, but it always just created this grey line. So in my head now, if everyone is upright, then if it chooses to flip out reverse, then I know for sure it's meant to be reversed. So now the deck knows I'm looking for, because in my mind, like most of my magic is mental magic. You know, I communicate through my mind completely with the energy that I work with and the guides. So they know now, especially because I always put my intention, I'm doing my element spread. Or sometimes I say, for this situation, I want 3 cards, and I'll read it like that, like kind of more free form without a spread. Or sometimes I will use my situation, challenge, and outcome spread. They're my main 3 I use on a daily. So I just go, and I got quite quick at it, but you don't have to do this quickly. See, that fell on the floor, which again would give it a chance to flip over if it was meant to be reversed, but it didn't flip over reversed. It came out upright. And now I'll start again for the 4th card, the Earth Element card. And that flipped itself over, so that's meant to be reversed. So we will get back to the whole deck. So as I'm doing the reading, you know, I'm looking at the mental energy, I'm looking at the intentions and the actions, looking at the emotional energy, and I'm looking at what's actually physically manifesting right now. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through the reading necessarily with you, because I'm more showing you how I shuffle, how I pull cards, right? Basically, you see I didn't do any shuffling there. So now they've asked another question after getting all the information here. And say this question, I'm guessing like what kind of questions? There's certain questions that I get, and it's always like when they want an additional answer to something. So say this is the current energy between them and their person of interest. And then now they want to know, well, where is this going? Like, does this have a future? Like, where is this going? What's the strongest timeline of the outcome of events? So then I will say to tarot, okay, well, give me 3 cards, please. And I'm saying this in my mind normally, and it's very quick, you know, okay, 3 cards. Because when you're in a reading, you don't want to be wasting the client's time. So now I just want 3 cards for the strongest timeline. Another thing worth mentioning here is you might have noticed I didn't pick up the other cards I already laid before doing the next spread. This is because we're talking about the same person and it's just another question. So I'm keeping the energy open. I'm not closing down the energy as we're on the same subject. I would pick the cards up if we were completely changing subjects and people, but this is how I keep the energy open. Every single card is getting an opportunity to come out. fell on my lap. And they all came out upright, even though one fell out on my lap. There's no manipulation of the reversal, and that's what I really like. I really trust Spirit to be able to flip out the cards that are communicating with me. And honestly, my readings have never been more accurate and better since I've been using this process. So here now I have a timeline of events, and this is no spread, okay? This is free form reading, I guess you would call it. If I go in there. So then I use my intuition to sort of see, and naturally you go, like actually I go from this side to that side, like that's how it's going to play out. So we have a lot of two swords cards. It's sword dominant, so a lot of mental energy in here, but we also have the Knight of Pentacles, which is great. This is movement, right? Moving in the right direction, i.e. towards my client, because it's not reversed. So at least I can see the outcome is that things start to moving, because it's earth, it's solid, it's grounded, it's fully manifested, moving into fully formed connection. And then here, but before that, we're seeing, okay, it looks like there's gonna be a time where it feels like they're leaving. Yeah, we have the Six of Swords up, and that's leaving. There's too much negativity, and they're moving away. And it could also be, because this isn't a real reading, intuitively I would know if it was a real reading, because I would be tuning into their energy. But another outcome for that could even be like things get better. You know, you're moving from it being pretty rocky, unstable, to more stability. But then I'm seeing this Ten of Swords, so I'm seeing another break happening, another breakup of some kind. So it could be like they move away, you think it's completely over, and then surprisingly, after some reflection and needing that kind of end of the hard times, they end up coming back in a much more steady, grounded form. You know, so obviously this is me using my mind to read this, but normally I would read my intuition, and you just always trust what comes up first. You know, reading with your intuition, you really do have to gain so much trust with yourself and let go of the overthinking mind. So this is the interesting part, okay? I don't shuffle this deck after I finish with a client. Whoa, is that crazy? It's not really. Now I've shown you my process, right? It's not crazy because I give every single card an opportunity to come through, but I don't just pile them up and stick them at the bottom. I do allow my, the intuition of where each card needs to go. Just guide, just let it be guided. You know, you just feel there, it's good. Just feeling and making sure they're all upright again, just feeling like that feels good. That feels good too. I knock out the energy, so I always knock out the energy at the end of a reading too. So I knock in energy and I knock out energy. That works for me, but you can use smoke, or I like to have things that are quick and practical, so I use the knock-in, and I also use my stone. So I have done an unusual way to read the tarot video, which I'll put up there, which you might want to go check out. I did that years ago, so obviously your practice is always growing, it's always changing. And I'm always going to be back here to let you know when things change. But I used to read the shuffle, and this still works, you know, in the way that I do it. So I would read the shuffle of how well it's shuffling. See, because I don't shuffle like this anymore, it's hard. But if that's shuffling like a bit clunky, cards are falling out, this can tell you something. Use your intuition. What does that? That tells you that things are messy, things are unsure, like people's energy is half in, half out. If I'm shuffling for ages and a card doesn't come out, then that's going to tell me this person has really strong walls up, their energy is very guarded. If the cards are all flying out, this person has no boundaries, like it can tell you a lot about what you're reading. And it doesn't have to be a person, it can be the situation. But you see how that still works with how I do it now is if I'm doing this and it's that messy energy that's like unpredictable timeline I'm working with. I like all these cards. I'm trying to purposely do it, but naturally all these cards will just start like flopping out, right? That it's, I don't know. It's almost like a leak, right? The cards are leaking out. There's a hole in the energy field of whatever you're reading. There's a leak that needs to be addressed as well. So the energy is not contained well. It can also mean that who you're reading for is going to be difficult to get accuracy as well because of this like unpredictable leaking energy, right? So when I'm doing this one card at a time, you can still read the shuffle. If it's like perfect, if it's like reading really perfectly, the cards are flipping over really nicely, they're not throwing on the floor, and all the cards I want to come, like the cards are coming out nicely like this, and then I feel like the reading is pretty easy to predict. The reading will be very accurate, the timeline's pretty solid. If the cards are falling on the floor, this shows me that a lot of energy is being disregarded. There's things that people don't want to look at, don't want to admit is a part of the problem. That they don't want to focus on, that is affecting it. So they could be very hyper focused on a person of interest, but there's the biggest block is actually something going on with them, and they find themselves attracted to people who are not giving them the attention they want because these cards are flying on the floor, right? Flying my cards on the floor. So they're disregarding parts of themselves. They're not refusing to look at it. And then obviously if cards are just not coming out, like it's neat and tidy like this, but cards are just not coming out, then this tells me, and if a card flips like that but flips back, I don't use that card. The card has to fully flip out. And you can peek at those cards because sometimes that can tell you something. If a card flips out and then back in, then you can have a little peek at that card and be like, oh, okay, so there's some resistance around this Three of Cups energy. Maybe there's resistance around socializing. Maybe they're socially anxious, right? So you're getting information in all these different ways when you're working with the cards, and it still doesn't mean you have to be shuffling them. As you see, I don't shuffle the cards, I pull the cards one by one and give them a chance. And I know a lot of readers will shuffle the thing how they are, they're putting them in piles. My sister does this, and then they put them back together, and then they split the deck, and then they pull their cards like that. And this just never resonated with me. And then as I become doing way more readings, being a professional tarot reader, now that I really wouldn't have time for that, to really properly shuffle the deck and like slowly pile out things and pull things. But the main reason is whenever I do that, I just don't find the readings to be very accurate. And this is my opinion, because you could do that, like for example, my sister does that and she has very accurate readings. So everything can work for everyone, but we're all different and we prefer different ways. And I wanted to just share this, not to say I'm doing it the right way, because in a lot of people's minds I'm doing it the complete wrong way, and I accept that. But I don't really care about what other people think, because I know what works for me. So it's also about getting a lot of confidence around your practice and how you work with the cards, and just really listening to what works and what doesn't. If you find yourself using a spread and you're always feeling stumped on it, like, come on, the amount of times I've tried to work with the Celtic cross spread, because I want to, it's a cool spread, like I want to be able to work with that spread. And maybe one day, because I've learned from all the years of doing this, that, you know, your practice changes, and that's the beautiful thing. You continue to learn the more that you work with this medium. So like maybe one day I will be able to finally master that Celtic cross, but it just doesn't, like, I don't feel like the readings I do with it resonate. And they're not super accurate. So that's why I just keep working to find what does work for me, and I stick with what works for me. And when I feel inspired to try something new, I try that out. Okay. It's also having the confidence to try out something different, something new. And keeping your mind open is also really important. I don't think it helps to be very rigid-minded when you're working with like spirit or any kind of psychic work, or divination. Personally, for me, having rigid rules actually distracts me from my intuition and just genuinely tuning in and getting a good reading done. So I hope this maybe inspired you just to try it out, or was just interesting to see how I might do things a bit differently. Oh, is that a reverse card in there that sneaked in? What is it? The reverse King of Swords. Well, anyway, all right, guys, I hope you enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you soon in another one. Have a great day. Bye.